Welcome to this week's JVA Coach to Coach Video of the Week, brought to you by NetLink Sports, the preferred court provider of the JVA.
All right, I'm going to intro our offensive system. So one thing we've loved having Blake come to our club is we sat down as a staff. There's Maggie and Bryce and Emily, everyone's here. We sat down in August for what, like 30 hours? It was a long time. It was a lot of coffee. And we said, what are we going to teach at VCN? So it's important to us, we do a lot of lead coaching. It's super important to us that our 18 elite team is learning the same thing our 12 elite team is. Because at a lot of clubs, the training depends on the coach. So you might say, hey, we've got great coaches. We got incredible coaches, and they coach our 16 elite, 17 elite, and 18 elite team. Awesome. Well, what are the rest of your teams learning? And are they learning the same thing? So when they get to those coaches, they're all on the same page. Or is that coach spending the first 6 months of every season retraining these kids? So we said, hey, this is what we want to do at our 18s, 16s. Blake's got a awesome 17-1 team. How do we start that process with Bryce in youth club, right? And so when we're talking about 3x3, we're not just telling that to our setter who's going to play, Big Ten volleyball. We're talking about for all of these kids. So we teach the same transition footwork. We teach the same tempo. Probably is going to be a little bit higher for your younger kids. But other than that, they're learning the same cues of how we want to move and how we want to locate our sets. So I'm going to ask you guys to set some balls here that are a little bit faster. So if I tell you an out-of-system ball, right, a super out-of-system ball, super high, we're going to call that a mountain. Okay, the balls you guys are setting right now would be like our maybe third tempo. It's kind of like a hill. I want you to think about setting a speed bump. About 1/1002 would be our timing, like about a second or less. So same ball, can we miss 3 feet in? But can we keep this ball a little bit faster out of our hands? Because that's the tempo. We're going to run a second step tempo. That means on a 4-step approach, our attacker is on their second step. I always say left step, and I always feel bad for the lefties. So it's their second step, left or right, out of our setter's hands. Okay, so let's see a couple of these. That's great. Hey, we missed a little bit inside, Megan. We're good with that. Give me a little bit faster. That's pretty good, Megan. Maybe a little bit more love on that ball. Okay, a little bit of yeah, and great tempo. Hey, great height. Just too far out. Beautiful, Megan. Miranda, that's what we want right there. So now, right, we've learned our hands, we've learned our footwork. Now can we maintain the learning that we've done as we're trying to be a little bit more outcome-based? So now they're getting feedback, right? They haven't gotten any feedback on any outcome yet, but now we're talking about tempo and location. So maybe you've added attackers, maybe you're doing a drill in practice. So how do we now, like Blake said, be mindful of what we're working on right now? We're just talking about our tempo and our system.
You want to show with some hitters?
Yeah. Hitters, ready?
Listen, I think one of the things that we do a lot is I do this a lot with my pins. And I think our hitters blame the setter all the time, right? Setters get blamed for every bad ball. It's too high, it's too low. And so it's really important that we are on, if we're hitting a go ball, we are on our second step when the setter's touching the ball, right? And so one of the things I do is, because I don't think hitters are at our level are very good at regulating their timing. The ball, the pass, or the dig dictates your timing as an attacker, right? And so what I like to do is I'll pass a ball and I move it around, and I have my hitters say out loud, they're going to say fast, slow, or go. And that isn't for them telling the setter how to set the ball. That is for me to know, am I going to be on a normal second step on a go ball? Am I going to be on a slower second step because she has to set it from zone 2, right? Even though she's still going to set tempo, this ball has to travel farther, right? And so if it has to travel farther, it's going to take a little bit more time for it to get there. So they're going to be on just a little bit slower second step, not much. And then if the ball's passed into the gap where the setter's close on a short string, they have to be a little bit faster on their second, right? So we're going to have you pass the balls here. Pass good, pass close, pass far. Yeah, but just make them settable. And so I want you guys to say, slow, faster, go. You got to recognize it off the pass early, right? And so this is just for me to hear them, right? They're not telling the setter to set it slow. I just want to know, is she recognizing where the pass is so she can regulate her timing step, right? Here we go. What kind of pass is that? Slow. And so it's all going to depend, obviously, on your setter skill, right? And where the ball's getting set from.
Hey, that was pretty good, pretty good.
What kind of pass is this? Yeah, so she's going to go a little bit faster there, right? What kind of pass? Good, that's just a go, right? That's just her normal second step. And then we got to figure out where does the slow end and the go begin, right? And we have that kind of little in-between ball sometimes, right? So that's a little bit faster, right? Good. Maybe pass them into zone 2 a little bit. Yeah, it's just a normal go, right? Pass in the middle of the court, just like that. You can pass her off and more zone 2. Yeah, what is that? Slow. And then one of the other things we do in our gym as well, right? We say it's a sin to miss far. So when our setter gets past far, then we ask our outsides to step into the court, right? So if our setter is setting this long distance ball or even out of system ball, if they're setting from here or zone 2, then we have our hitters just take a step into the court. That way, because we are wanting to miss inside, we do not want to miss far. It's hard to hit a ball that's tight and far. So we spend a lot of time doing this with our hitters where we're just trying to figure out this pass, right? Because this pass is dictating my timing.
Freeze, so that was a perfect example. Dash, what did you do? What did you recognize? She was off and far, so what did you do? You backed up, and then which other way did you move? Inside, great answer. What did we do with our set? It was too far, right? So that's exactly, this is something that I would say, I started coaching really young, and I worked with our offense and our setters, and I would always do this. I would always say, too far out, too early. Too slow, too fast. And I would give them the answers, right? Because it was like, I need them to know. I need them to know, right? But then I was taking the communication from the two of them. So now it's a little bit slower, but instead I'll say pause. Like, let's talk about this. Let's learn from this as a group. How do we I'm not on the court. So in the middle of a game, I can't say, hey, that was too slow, speed it up. But Dash can tell Miranda that. But if we don't practice that, I can't steal those reps from them. So we would say, hey, what would you tell Miranda next time? Speed it up, good. And where's she gonna miss? Inside. And you know that because she did the right move inside. So then Miranda would say, okay, awesome, next ball. And if it happens again, we'd pause. And I'd say, hey, Hayden, let's say you're attacking. I know your name. So what would you tell your setter? Right? And it's uncomfortable at first. They don't want to be wrong, but then the more you can give them the freedom to have that communication between your setter and the attacker, the more that you can give feedback, but you're not in charge of the feedback. They're not to you. How many of you guys have setters who after every play look at you and they say, what was wrong with it? Because either they don't trust their attackers, either their attackers are always complaining about their sets, so that's another issue for another day, or they just actually don't know. So how can we empower our setters to know so they can self-coach each other instead of me standing here giving them feedback on every single ball?
And to piggyback off of that, if the hitter knows what step they're on all the time, right, then their setter and hitter can have a real conversation about whose fault it was, or if it was a good set, because the hitter could go, ooh, I wasn't on my second. That was a good set. That's my bad, right? Or it allows them to make sure that even on, if you're running a 4-step, tight quick, right? You need to make sure that your hitters and setters are on the same page on what is going to be our timing step, right, for when the ball's about to be in the setter's hands. That's really important, so then they can give real feedback to each other.
Thank you for watching the JVA Coach to Coach video of the week.